Gandhi in an inspirational way. Now, again, as I mentioned, overseas students who want to know about Gandhi should be coming here. If they're not, maybe why not? What better place to study the Mahatma than the land where he lived? I mean, you breathe the air of Gandhi, you can visit the ashrams. I know that there are at least some German students, I think, who are doing the course here by correspondence, so there's some outreach from this university. But how do we make it that India becomes an attractive place for scholars from around the world to come to study Gandhi? I mean, we should be studying Gandhi here, not in America or England. To me, it's so obvious. I've got something of a similar personal story. In 1979, I came to India to take Gandhi seriously. I came because I wanted to study Gandhi. I was an academic, and because I was an academic, I could think of no other way to study Gandhi than to go to a university. If I'd known more, I would have volunteered for a Gandhian organisation, or I would have gone to Sevagram, stayed there, worked in the fields, talked to every elderly Gandhian who came through. But because I was an academic, I had tunnel vision. I thought you have to do everything through the academy. So I came to India to study Gandhi in a university in 1979. In 1979, there were 4 courses, certificate and diploma courses, in English in the whole of India. Now I don't know how many there are. I went to one university, I won't mention the name. The head of the Gandhi Studies Department was out of station, but his second in command I talked to, and after talking to him for a while, I realised I didn't want to go to that university. I was young and idealistic, and I thought this professor didn't really have Gandhian values or something. I mean, I might change my mind now that I'm older, but I was young and full of enthusiasm. I went to a second university, a beautiful campus. Again, I won't name it, but I talked to the head of the department there, and it's interesting that he dissuaded me from coming and doing the course. He said after a discussion with me that I've already read more Gandhi than they're going to teach me in that course, and that the courses are only there because they've got several students from mostly Southeast Asia who are studying. They're not part of the Indian social context. They've got nothing to do in the evenings, so they put on, his words, Mickey Mouse courses for these overseas students. And he said, don't waste your time, go home and do serious Gandhi research. I didn't even visit the other 2 universities. I took his warnings and his advice, and I went home. When I did go home, I ended up writing an MA dissertation on Gandhian philosophy, and eventually I did a PhD on a Gandhi-related topic in Melbourne. But I still feel that I missed something really important by not studying Gandhi in India. How many of the current courses on offer would satisfy that young woman and that younger version of me? I hope a lot of them, but I don't know. Perhaps many of them could, but now there are, when students of mine ask me about studying Gandhi, should I go to India and study Gandhi, I have to confess that because of my experience, I told them not to go to Indian universities, to join a Gandhian, instead to join some Gandhian activist group and spend time there and learn practically. But now that there are less and less Gandhian activist groups, or activist groups calling them Gandhian, and more university courses, that becomes a little bit difficult. But I hope that some of the courses would be a delight for my students. More recently, I again had some course to wonder. I was involved in an advanced seminar on Gandhi taught at the Institute of Advanced Studies in Shimla. Wonderful, wonderful place. The old Vice-Regal Lodge is a terrific place to sit and work. And I was involved in this course with Professor Philip Shuruk from the Sabarmati Ashram. And there were wonderfully keen students from all around India, from India's top universities. And of course, a lot of them were peace studies students. They've heard about all the major Western conflict resolution theorists. They were well versed in the works of Johann Galtung. They could tell me everything about Jean-Paul Lederach, but they knew nothing about Vinoba and J.P. Shanti Sena. In fact, they hadn't even heard of J.P. Shanti Sena. These are Indian students. Now, that Shanti Sena was incredibly important in the 1960s and 70s and set an example for world peace teams. The inspiration for a lot of peace teams around the world actually came from that organisation. And the irony is that I was teaching about the Shanti Sena in Melbourne, whereas these students from Indian peace studies courses had never heard of this great experiment that actually changed peacekeeping, unarmed, non-violent peacekeeping around the world. Now, I hope that the newer Gandhi studies courses are less blinkered and the students know of this great legacy. Now, if what I'm saying is correct, and Gandhi is disappearing from the field and becoming more and more of academic interest, then we need to consider whether it's a trade-off that's worthwhile. To me, it seems that there are not enough scholars doing original work on Gandhi to keep most of the journals alive and viable, and that every second university Gandhi Centre wants to have its own journal. This results in publications of a lot of second-rate articles, to be frank,